All right, we are live. Welcome everyone who will be joining us. I'm Betsy Pilon, the Executive Director for Hope for HIE, and I am very, very excited to welcome our newest team member, Vanessa, to the Hope community. So Vanessa, please, it's so great to have you here, and I'd love for you to share a little bit about you and your background, and then we'll talk a little bit about your new role with Hope.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Betsy. It is truly a pleasure to be here. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I'm based in New York City. I've been working in the hospital setting for several years and have been in the neonatal ICU. So that's what brought me to Hope. I found them years ago when I was looking for some peer support and just education for a family who had a child who experienced HIE in the NICU. And I was like, wow, this is great. Like, has some great materials here, good Facebook community. So I gave that information, and I've given it over several years. And I've noticed in these last few years, it's grown tremendously. And I've always had a passion for this population. I really enjoy supporting NICU families in general, but also families who go through brain injuries like this. So I've been doing that. And then I also recently opened up my private practice. It's called Reaching Resilience Therapy. I'm doing that along with a co-founder of mine. And we're supporting a lot of different families and communities virtually right now. But I was happy to join the Hope for HIE team just to continue to foster a lot of my passions, and this is the population that I love to work with. So when I saw an opportunity to join the team, I couldn't imagine a more perfect role. So that's what got me here.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And, we're so excited. This is, I will say, has been a dream of ours for many years as we've grown as an organization. And was certainly, one of the things that we were most excited about getting started to really grow out our support programming and really give it an oomph as we move forward. So, Vanessa has been engaged to help us, bring more meaningful programs to the Hope community. And we're going to start out with some Zoom support groups. And, when you talked about, the virtual nature of things, Hope for HIE we were founded as a virtual community. So we're kind of an inside out organization where a lot of places, start in a location and then build out. We already had, because of the work of the people that started the Facebook group, we had this global community and, built this structure, but not, not having that in-person connection to begin with, but have built things along the way. So, when the pandemic happened in particular, we were tooled up like many others to, to have the technology tools have grown so much in the past 2 years. So we're excited to be able to grow out the programs like that. So we're scheduling out support groups that you're going to lead. And the first Thursday of every month is going to be for newly diagnosed families that join into our group to connect with other families, to talk about what they're going through, to learn more about our community and what they can, how they can connect with others, and all the things that new time, kind of contains. So, and then the second Tuesday or Thursday of the of the month, we're gonna have a group for an ongoing support group for our lost families as well. So looking forward to that and connecting that community a little bit stronger. And then the next 2 Thursdays, we're still planning out. We're gonna look at different groups. So our dads and extended families and looking at maybe some topic-based, groups. So really excited for that. I know we've been, we announced that you're joining and what, you're going to be helping us with, and our community is really, really excited about it. So lots of ideas of, we put a poll out there and said, what do you guys want? We want to make sure that we're doing this. So, so it's meeting needs. So I'm really excited to have you engage this year. The second program that we're going to be rolling out and we're excited to talk about today is that we're going to be building out a more comprehensive peer support mentorship program that you'll be helping us lead and get off the ground. And again, focusing initially on, connecting peer support mentors and building for newly diagnosed families that enter our community, and then those that are also new to loss. So we're going to be, actually, we're meeting right after this with Crystal Kostick, who's on our board of directors as well, as we come together to talk about what this program will be. So, those of you in the HIE community, look for an application soon. We're going to be, sourcing and asking for people to apply to be a part of this program. So both as mentors and mentees, we'll launch the application for mentors first and hope to expand that program as we go, starting with these first two, cohorts essentially. And
I'm
then
so
the last
excited about that program.
Yeah.
Like that's always been, when I work in the hospital setting, we have a family advisory council, which, shout out to family advisory councils, volunteers, those who give back to hospitals and try to make it better based off of their experience of having children there. And they help us with so many supportive programming, but they have a similar peer support program. And I conduct trainings with my colleagues to train the volunteers for peer support. But that was one thing I've always noticed is that trying to get a variety of diagnoses. Yes, we got a lot of NICU parents, but it's a lot of like feeder and growers or preemies or, maybe those typical NICU admissions, but not so much the HIE or ECMO or those specialties. So that's been always a area I've wanted to work with to enhance that because it's definitely lacking. So creating this program and being a part of that is huge. And I'm so excited to see where it goes.
Yay! I'm so excited too. And so that, it all is a part of this. And, one of the other things too is, we've had kind of us as volunteers or us as, people with Hope for HIE who are not trained social workers, managing intake referrals for the longevity. And so I think giving that a little bit more structure, obviously, having you as a point of contact for other NICUs to send referrals in is going to be so huge for our organization. That's been such a missing piece for us as we have been in this growth curve. So I'd love to hear more about, I know you, you lead in your other role, you lead support groups and things like that. So what can people expect, what would you like a structure as you go to lead some of these support groups?
Yeah, it's a good question. I love doing groups. I think, usually when I hear feedback from parents, they say, some of the best support I got was from a former family or a family who's, a few years beyond the point where I'm at. So for me, it's just holding space, bearing witness to some of the trauma that people are experiencing or did experience. And sometimes that's uncomfortable, right? To sit there in silence or to just be vulnerable with someone. I think in these settings and especially group settings and when we're in virtual spaces where it feels kind of awkward, like when do I talk? Oh, I interrupted someone. It may be easy or feel more comfortable to fill space and to say, oh, it's going to be okay. But we don't know if that's going to be okay. So I think, that's the joy, like you mentioned, is having my specialty to bring to these settings of reminding people that, there's other ways to comfort someone with things that are more trauma informed. And that's what I love about Hope for HIE is that you guys want to be trauma informed. You come from a great perspective, a great lens, and you're looking to just enhance that and make sure that all your practices are trauma informed. So, I enjoy doing groups. I think, it's an important role to facilitate that conversation, connect themes, and then create a sense of community because it certainly exists, but sometimes it can feel like you're alone and you're so far away and you're the only one going through it. But actually there's a lot of people and a lot of, people to remind you that you didn't do anything wrong. This wasn't your fault. And, you're not alone. And there's people who've been through this and there's support out there for you. So can't wait to be a part of that and to just continue to move Hope's mission along and to embody that, trauma-informed lens.
Awesome. We are so, like I said, so could not be more excited about this.
Yes,
And
I know these things always take years and years to come come alive. So I'm so glad to be a part of it.
wonderful. And so we've had some people chiming in and just saying, welcome. We're so glad you were a part of it. So yeah, we look forward, and we hope eventually too, we'd love to get back to some in-person connections too. We have all missed that. I was actually talking to one of our, another parent from our community last night, and she was saying that she's attended our retreats before as well. And she said she was looking at a picture of the last one she attended, and like coming home and having a picture with her daughter, who now is like 3 years older than she was then. So it's like
Totally different person.
time gap, so we're hoping, like especially with how hard things have been for everyone. I just think about those NICU families too, and how this has just been, NICU without a pandemic is hard enough, and then NICU with a pandemic just is
100%. So many restrictions, less emotional support or people physically being able to be with you. Sometimes I think about it like, yeah, a few years ago, and I'm like, oh, aunts, uncles, friends, grandparents, everybody was in the NICU. And I was like, that seems like such a wild concept now. But it really does make a difference, because you are so isolated already. And then to not have that support and people to be asking questions, and to have the burden of answering them, and being alone when the doctors are speaking and your partner's back at work, and there's just so many things that go into it, and it's also isolating. So that's what I hope these programs can increase and make that loneliness not so loud for you, and know that there are people out here, just won't be by you physically right now, but spiritually and emotionally and virtually.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll be able to reconnect again, in person safely.
We're all Zoom fatigued.
Yes, I know. But yeah, it's a different element for our community, taking the support from a Facebook group where you're typing, and supporting each other, to a video call like this, where you do actually get to interact and see how someone is talking and engaging and things like that. It's a whole different element. So hopefully these will be baby steps towards
a lot of growth.
Yeah.
But growth is good.
Absolutely. Great. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time today. And for those of you that are watching and listening in, make sure that you continue to share, what is going to be most meaningful for you in your journey, how we can best support, and how Vanessa can in this new role. And if you're a newly diagnosed family or a lost family, make sure that you're checking out the events section for the registration. It's a short registration. And it's going to be on Zoom. So you'll get a Zoom link, and you can, register for all of the sessions that you want to attend. So great. Well, we look forward to it, Vanessa. Thank you so much. And thanks everyone for tuning in today. And, again, keep questions coming and the conversation going. All right. Take care, everyone.
Bye, guys.